Look at my pretty crystal. Kyanite, I think.
That's what you said.
Mm-hmm. And look at how it suits my mom was like, I sent her a picture and she was like, oh, your nails look good. She was like, Kristen did a good job. And I was like, I know she did. I was like, because she told me. She was like, I'm very good at this.
I was also hammered. I did not say I was very good at it. I said I'm good at doing it to myself.
No.
I've never painted another person's nails before.
Oh, did a good job.
But I did a good job.
Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching This Show, your new favorite pop culture YouTube channel where we talk about movies, TV, music, and more. As always, this is a spoiler show, so you have been warned. On today's episode, we're going to have probably a short, I think, obligatory conversation about the new movie, The King's Daughter.
It just released.
So we here at So I'm Watching the Show love mermaids and we love mermaid movies.
Oh, yeah. Get the mermaid shelf.
Newly implemented mermaid shelf.
And I got you that Lego.
Yeah. You never talked about it. This was one of my Christmas presents this year. And oh, damn it. When I went to Lego store, I forgot I was going to get, they have a fish tank Lego set.
Oh.
And I was going to get it to put her in it. Oh no, now I have to go back to the Lego store and spend more money.
Go see if you can get more free shit.
So, yeah, and actually I'm a little bit bummed because when we maneuvered into the YouTube channel, it sort of changed how we do things because every year up until this point we had done a mermaid episode where we talked about like,
well, this is it,
1 or 3 mermaid things, and we didn't do one last year. So we could, I don't know if you guys are interested, we could do a 1-2 punch, 2021 and 2022.
Just pick another movie.
Mermaid. There's other ones. Well, because we never did the Chinese movie, The Mermaid, which was very good and very strange. We watched it. We didn't talk about it. I promise.
I've watched it like 4 times. I don't think I would have watched it that many times if we hadn't talked about it.
Pull the episode.
All right. I'm not going to do it right now. I'm going to look for it when we're done.
No, it's not there. This movie fell onto my radar like a sack of potatoes like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I saw the trailer on like TikTok and I sent it to you and I was like, hey, this looks a little dumb, but like, what do you think?
Well, it looked too good to be true to me.
Yeah.
And that's because it is. This thing is a clunker.
Yeah. It's also based on a novel
called The Sun and the Moon.
The Moon and the Sun, but yeah.
Which is so much better than The King's Daughter. Why on earth they named it The King? The fact that she's his daughter has nothing.
No bearing. And here, I'll also say one more thing, which is my biggest complaint about the entire movie. This should have just been a straight up fantasy. There was absolutely 0% excuse to set this in Louis XIV's reign of France and then not commit to it and have everybody wearing whatever the fuck they bought at Saks Fifth Avenue. Okay, I will caveat that by saying I love the swing they did with the fashion.
I love aspects of it.
Yeah.
None of it worked in this.
No, especially because so many of the men were wearing like almost period appropriate clothing. And then there were just like strapless gowns everywhere.
I don't know how this happened. I kind of do. So it was based on a novel that at the time was in 1997, I think, was a big hit. It like won some prestigious fantasy award for novels.
From 1997?
Yeah.
Okay.
So much so that it beat out Game of Thrones.
In 1997.
Yeah.
Okay.
For this award.
And now I kind of want to read the book.
I think it's just a fine YA type movie. It's a very... Okay. I think that is one of my biggest issues is the plot is so standard, which is fine. That's fine to have a standard plot, but it somehow is too long and not long enough. Like,
I was like, thank God it's only 90 minutes. And then 11 hours later, when I was still watching it, I was like, how is this still happening?
But also there's nowhere near enough time spent with any elements of this movie for any of it to have any weight or land.
I have to wonder what the script looked like because I feel like there's stuff on the cutting room floor.
A lot of it's editing. A lot of it is very, very poorly, very choppily edited is what it gave me was it was almost like they only filmed 2/3 of the movie and had to put it together with what they had. Say that a successful scene requires 5 beats: an introduction, some middle ground, the point, some middle ground, and a closing. Every scene had a minimum of 2 of those points missing.
Removed.
Characters were sort of just walking in, stating their motivations, and walking out.
Yeah, so the thing for me is what it more felt like to me than that they only filmed 2/3 is I sort of thought it felt like that movie Underwater that came out in like early 2020, where it was like they ended up having to edit it down. And so, but it's like the opposite of that, because the movie Underwater works really well, having been basically taken down to its skeleton. And this is a skeleton that needs something else.
I feel weird being so critical of it.
It also was filmed in 2014. That is the elephant
when
in the
you
room.
told me that, I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Very rarely is that good for a movie to have sat on the shelf.
Yeah.
One of the only examples that I can think of in recent memory is I think the movie Taken was filmed like 3 years before it was released, and it surprised everybody when it came out and was a big hit.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of behind the scenes production drama. I did a little bit of research. I found out this is one of those movies. We keep going back to this well, and it's not paying off, and it's pissing me off. But it's one of these movies that's like joint produced by China.
Yeah.
And it's
Which
not.
Which is why Bing Bing Fan is in it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Which I think
She's
I
great.
love her. I think she's great. And I also sort of kind of liked, I like the instinct to cast her as a mermaid.
Yeah.
Although the mermaid speaking Chinese.
Yes.
That was strange.
That was the thing for me watching it, where I was like, why is this happening how it's happening? Like, why is this the way it is? Why isn't this just a fantasy movie?
So, because you said setting it in King Louis, France, and it would be one thing if they just said it in the beginning, but they keep reminding you, like they keep drawing attention to the fact that they're filming in Versailles.
Like, he's the king, it's in Versailles. They
look how beautiful Versailles is. I could have never imagined.
All of the fountains. They also hella romanticized the little village that Marie Antoinette built, which, by the way, was not really.
Was that Hemo de Lorraine?
It looked like it.
I couldn't remember if Marie lived in Versailles.
She did.
She did?
Marie
okay.
Antoinette absolutely lived in Versailles.
I thought that too, where I was like, huh.
Yeah. And so it's just as like, that was a place where she could go play poor person, not like a beautiful little thing.
Well, no,
also,
it was. She.
But then additionally, it would not have already been there when Louis XIV was in power. So
furthermore, when we're introducing the mermaid and they're just saying. They're saying these things. Like, I mean, entire episodes of Once Upon a Time have had more gravitas than this.
That's true.
And I don't know why, but for me, I was like, Atlantis? I was like, we haven't earned not a good enough reason to throw down the lost continent of Atlantis.
Definitely not.
That's something that sort of rears its head a little bit, that mermaid. I think it's an Asian. I think it's like more of an Asian sensibility, but that mermaid flesh can grant eternal life.
Okay.
It plays into Fairy Tale on Amazon.com by William S. Brooks, our debut novel.
That's him.
No, mermaid flesh can grant eternal life. There's different takes on it, scales, whatnot, but
I keep thinking about stuff that's like out of place. Like the like weird guy, Luntalak or whatever he was, the one that she ends up
I can't tell you a single.
Like, forcing her to marry him, and I'm just like, he could have been gone from the plot, and it wouldn't have it would have made way more sense. Because that's the other thing too, is I kept forgetting that it was filmed in 2014, and I was like, there's people in this, but I can only excuse Pablo Schreiber. Because he didn't know any better. He was like early in his career. He was like maybe on a couple episodes of Orange is the New Black.
Yeah, Orange is the New Black.
And but he hadn't gotten his big break on not Good Omens, American Gods yet. And so I just was like, Pablo Schreiber, what are you doing here?
The William Hurt of it all, the Pierce Brosnan.
I'm like,
because why is she his daughter? Her being his daughter has nothing to do with it whatsoever. Also, especially because he kind of keeps hitting on her.
Yes.
There is a line that took my breath away, where it's like they're telling her to smile for the king, which that's fine, whatever. But he says something about, I know there's a genuine smile on you somewhere. It had a very whispering eye quality.
Spit everywhere.
Did that take you out too?
I honest to God couldn't tell you, I couldn't recall for you one solitary line of dialogue from this movie. It was so bland. But I do recall that scene and then like every subsequent scene being like, why is there so much sexual tension between him and his daughter? And then because he keeps it a secret that she's his daughter for like 85% of the movie, and then immediately is like, you're my daughter, and also you're marrying this guy whether you like it or not.
Well, and
I'm gonna kill that mermaid because I want to be immortal.
For reasons.
And meanwhile, he's just like, he knows and is just allowing her to go down there and swim with the mermaid.
And we have no reason for why the mermaid would have any connection with her. She just kind of hears her.
And she likes the ocean.
Yeah.
I also like the ocean.
Because that's another thing that, I mean, again, it does play a role in Fairy Tale on Amazon.com. But this like network of caves that leads to that's under Versailles. Because that also implies that those fountains are saltwater.
Well, yeah, because he got it. It's like coming from Paris.
From the Seine.
From the Seine. But the Seine is
brackish
at best. Like, do you know how far inland Paris is? It's not like a coastal city. It's inland.
Certainly not enough salt for a creature from Atlantis.
Yeah, for a deep sea creature. And we don't even have a line where it's like, good thing we laid in that supply of salt as they dump it in the water.
That's what would have happened. Word for word. I'm not trying to pick it apart per se, but it's like there's entire leaps in logic because so we established that the mermaids can grant eternal life. They find Atlantis. How, I don't know, because again, 1600s, they're just sort of floating on top of the ocean.
Yeah.
But they find it. They catch a male and female, and they're just sort of like, throw the male back. And I'm like, I'm like, hold on to that.
Short-sighted. Very short-sighted.
I don't know. And again, it's like I appreciated the leap, the design of the mermaid, especially in that they did something not radically different, but she had flippers, like she didn't have arms.
Yeah,
I didn't love it.
It's not amazing. It was not my favorite design.
I like the fin, but I wish she had hands.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I also found it very odd that like the reason they went on this journey to find this mermaid and the reason they were looking for like immortality for the king is not because he's ill. It's because he was shot at. And he just will die someday. And I was like, yeah, boo.
Well, because
that's how it is.
Well, no, but they keep like proposing like it's for France. Like he needs to be immortal for France. But then we find out France is in dire straits. Like,
there is a reason there was a revolution.
So him being immortal isn't going to help.
And then France had no more kings after that.
I appreciated some of the swings, especially in the hair, makeup, wardrobe. Mm-hmm. Notice I said I appreciated the swing. It did not land, and certainly not juxtaposed against the grandeur of literal Versailles.
Yeah.
And I think there's a world where that could work if it had competent direction, production design. Like, it's so flatly directed. And I mean, it's not a first time. It's a director that's pretty established.
That goes towards the acting as well, because I want to compare this performance, and there's a number of years in between, but this performance by Kaya Scodelario, I want to juxtapose it with like Crawl, which is also not an amazing movie, but like a good alligator murder
creature
shark movie. She's so much better in Crawl. Like, her performance is flat. Like, they're all flat. She's meant to be falling in love with that captain. What?
It was very very cardboard. And was Crystal Clark was her handmaiden?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She's trying her best. And she's the amount of screen time she actually does have is astonishing, considering that nothing is accomplished. And it's just very hollow. I had a theory that we were actually going to kind of love it because we
sometimes do.
Yeah.
I legitimately think Aquamarine.
We went to bat for Aquamarine.
It's a good time. I think it's a good time. I think, you know, Emma Roberts is really green. JoJo, the singer, is in it, but it's fine. You know,
Sarah Paxton knew what she was doing.
Ariel Kebbel knew what she was doing. It's fine. And Jake McDorman, and it's like, this is not fine. And it bums me out. Also, Rachel Griffiths is the abbess at the...
She's like on the poster. Like she gets like star and it's
4 minutes, maybe.
But it's not even like a fucking... I can't think of Fontaine from Les Miserables.
Yeah,
it's
no,
like,
it's not
even like a stunt where it's like, oh, okay.
And I'm like, look, I understand that people have to pay their bills, even actors.
I can't imagine any of them made that much money.
Also, yeah,
it's also so weirdly inconsistent. Like
that's why I have to believe that like the original script and like what the movie was going to be before it was shelved for 8 years was better than what happened. Because I don't believe that Pierce Brosnan, William Hurt, and Rachel Griffiths signed on for this. You know what I mean? Like, they are all very good.
Because Kaya wasn't quite established yet, so it's believable that she could have just like...
I think she had the one Maze Runner movie was out at that point.
Because even the boys, it's like the boys were so bland. The blonde pirate, we should be right there with him. And I just was like, okay.
Well, it'll really hurt your feelings when you realize he's a lot cuter in the movie than he is in real life.
Oh, really?
The hair does a lot for him.
And there's this strange introductory narration by Julie Andrews where it really feels like it was stitched together using previous dialogue.
Because what it sounds like to me is like the opening of like a legitimately cute fairy tale, like an Ella Enchanted type of thing. And this is not that.
But you can hear the disconnect between words where it's like she did not say this in one
all
sitting.
At once. Yeah.
She was reading a dictionary and they pieced it together. Going back to the costuming, it's like I really like the swing, the approach they did with it, but they almost backed out at the last second because none of the men have like the men should have like a Panic at the Disco vibe, and they just have boy hair. Like they just have 2000s.
Well, that's the thing I said. Is like a lot of the dresses are like I feel like they took more swings with the dresses, even though they didn't land for me. But the men are all just wearing like general period clothes.
Coats.
And I'm just sort of like, okay, I guess. And you're right about the hair. And then there's like a whole vague subplot about the guy she's like meant to marry, like being bitchy with like another, like, but more than one interchangeable women in a boat. and I just was like, what is happening? Like, we're not getting like any, like a Dangerous Liaisons type of thing. Like there's no through line to any of this where there's no like conniving behind the scenes. They're just all like, what do you think of the king's new daughter or whatever? Like, and I'm like,
the king's new daughter or whatever. A direct line, a pull quote from the movie.
I'm just saying.
They overplayed their hand so many places because the mermaid effects. The mermaid is too fast.
Yeah, she's really fast.
She does not need it because the way she heals people is by like
making a golden vortex.
Yeah, turning into like a golden orb. There's also a handful of places where the effects are good, and it's odd. Yeah. It's very like because they quite literally run from Versailles to the cliffs of France, I guess. I don't think that's what
not. That's not how it works. And also it's so fucking funny because they managed to escape this like underground brackish prison. And they're going through these tunnels and they keep showing it. And the fucking captain is going ass over tea kettle the entire way. We're with CG Bing Bing fan.
Because again, too fast. She's too fast.
And then they spit out the middle of this cliff on the coast of France.
I was like, how did they get up?
So they spit out the middle of this cliff into the ocean, and then he just is like, hey! Like, from the ocean, he's like waving at, what is her name? Marie Joseph? Yeah.
Yeah. And she's like, you can neither save me or save the mermaid, but you can't do both.
Yeah. Oh, man.
It was what I was going to say is that shot on the cliff looked really nice. The sunset looked nice. Yeah. There's more than one boat in the water. Like, I was kind of like, where did this come from? And also, so if you've ever been watching Splash, and at the end of the movie, you see the scene where Madison, and spoilers for Splash, where Madison and Tom Hanks, I forget his name, Alan. They're like going off to the mermaid city. And as a child, I always wanted to see that mermaid city. As an adult, I prefer the Splash. I prefer not seeing the city.
Seeing the mermaid city.
Because there's this whole weird roller coaster. It's like that Journey to Atlantis, Poseidon's Fury, Universal Studios, where again she's riding this mermaid. Well, because there's also, they do the thing that Harry Potter does so much better, where there's like a question as to whether the mermaids are human or beast, and I'm like, well, don't ride her like a horse. That I think adds to. I wanted to see him too. We get like one glimpse of him, and it was just abs.
It's just also
just CG abs,
CGI mud in the ocean.
The score was also like really epic, but then there was like
omnipresent.
Well, but then it broke like 3 separate times for a pop song. Like Sia, I'm still breathing.
Yep.
While they are not breathing. They are underwater zooming through Atlantis.
Not great.
This was low hanging fruit. Yep. That's not really what we do. We're not shooting fish in a barrel. I'm just saying, no, you put a fish in the barrel. No, I kind of felt a duty to watch the new Mermaid movie that came out. And I don't even think, I think maybe if I were like 12 or 13, because I kept trying to wonder. I kept being like, would I have loved this when I was 13? Just giving me visuals.
Visually, I think maybe, but but it's not the type of thing that would have had longevity for me.
Because the first thing that kind of came to my mind comparable was like an Ever After, and it's like Ever After is a good movie.
Yeah,
it's
also working from source material that stays getting adapted. Where it's like there's got to be something there. The idea of a Cinderella story is a lot more appealing than whatever this is.
So I guess my TLDR is I appreciate so many aspects, so many of the instincts that went into this. Mm-hmm. However, not one of them worked. And I was going to ask, I mean, do you think it's so bad it's good, or not even that, it's just dull?
No, because I mean, like, I had enough fun talking about it just now, like, kind of to shreds, you say, but I would not put this on again to show other people and be like, look how bad this is, because it's not, it's like just bad.
You just kind of feel bad.
Yeah,
like it's just kind of embarrassing. You're like, oh
yeah.
And in that regard, I mean, the 8 years passing is nice, because it's like, well, there's no what now what.
Yeah, although that is the kind of thing, that's the only what if I have, is like, what if this had come out when it was meant to, as it was meant to? Because that's what I think is, I don't believe that this exact movie has been sitting on the shelf for 8 years.
Yeah, no.
It's been edited and edited and edited.
Yeah, within an inch of its life, it's been edited to shreds.
Absolutely.
Lowest kind of recommendation, only if you are a mermaid movie person, or
and you gotta catch them all.
A tween girl or gay that just wants to see some. Because I actually love the dress she wears to the dance.
Yep, I liked that one too.
And the wedding dress was it wasn't awful, but it was uninspired.
It was fine.
I mean, just the gentlest of recommendations.
Yeah, barely, very, very barely. You could read a book or go for a walk or other stuff too.
Just listen to Enya.
Yeah.
And imagine.
Yeah, imagine mermaids while you listen to Enya.
So, all right. Well, that is The King's Daughter.
All right. Well, you can follow us on Twitter @soimwatching or Instagram @soimwatchingthisshow. We also have a website, soimwatching.com, which links out to everything. And other than that, just like and subscribe. And if you are feeling generous, you can throw us a couple bucks if you like.
Or if you watch this thinking, what the hell do you know? Why are you so great? If you want to find out.
Yeah, read a book.
Read a book that may or may not have a mermaid in it.
It links from our website, soimwatching.com. At the top, there's a little button that says fairy tale. Click on that. It'll take you right to the Amazon page. Bye.